There's a flashback in Yu Yu Hakusho which reveals the backstory of Togoro's life long ago when he was living together with Genkai as warrior companions. In this scene, Toguro confesses a secret fear to Genkai, which would eventually corrupt him into the demon that would kill her 50 years later. He explains that he is afraid of the day when his human body will grow old and weak, because he may encounter a foe who can defeat him. But Toguro wasn't exactly afraid of dying in battle. He wasn't even afraid of being defeated per se. He was rather afraid of losing his power, because the pursuit of power had become his purpose in life, his reason for existing, and he wanted to freeze time so that he could preserve that purpose forever. But when Genkai receives this confession, she responds with a certain level of quiet sadness. She silently asks herself why she isn't enough for Toguro. Why can't he simply accept a life where the two of them grow old together, grow weak together, as all human beings are destined to do? I think that Genkai was in love with Toguro, and that was why it hurt her so bad to hear that Toguro did not want to grow old. It meant that his desire for power was greater than his desire for her companionship. And in a certain sense, it even meant that living out a life together with Genkai was a way of realizing his greatest fear, because it required him to abandon his power. And that was why Toguro would eventually abandon Genkai instead, in order to be reincarnated into the flesh of a yokai. He chose to become a demon because Genkai's humanity was not enough for him. Only the eternal youth of demonic flesh could speak to his sense of destiny. But then at the same time, Toguro also loved Genkai in his own terrible and corrupted way to the very end. That was why he chose to consign himself to the darkest level of hell after he died in the Dark Tournament, where his soul would ultimately be annihilated into nothingness. No one forced Toguro to accept such a terrible fate, and Koenma even offered him a different path of spiritual rehabilitation. But Toguro nevertheless chose the path of self-annihilation purely for the sake of Genkai, because he could see that Genkai refused to let go of him even after he betrayed her for the sake of unimaginable sin. Even after he killed her, she still wanted to look after him in the afterlife, in order to retrieve the humanity of the man whom she loved in her youth. And the only way that Toguro could save her from this mistake was to destroy himself completely, because as far as he was concerned, there was no longer any humanity to be retrieved, and the woman whom he failed to love deserved a better kind of destiny.